Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right and yet something still feels wrong? Like you're checking all the boxes, working hard, showing up, staying busy, but inside there's this quiet voice that says, you should be further by now. That voice, it whispers when you're alone. It shows up when you're scrolling through social media, seeing others succeed. It shows up late at night when everything is quiet except your mind. It's the voice that compares your life to someone else's highlight reel, the one that questions your choices, your timing, your very path. And suddenly, you find yourself wondering, what am I doing with my life? Why do I feel so stuck? Is it too late to change? You replay moments from the past and imagine futures that haven't come. You feel like you're standing still while everyone else is moving forward. And the weight of that thought, it can be overwhelming. But here's the truth. If you're here watching this video, it's probably not by accident. It means you're searching for something more. And I want you to know, you're not broken, you're not behind, you're not lost. You're just ready to grow. Jim Rohn, one of the greatest mentors of personal growth, once said, "You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight." And that is where the breakthrough begins. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to make huge changes overnight. You just need to shift your direction, even slightly. Because when you change direction, you change your destination. This video, it isn't going to promise you a magic formula. It won't tell you that success is easy. It won't give you all the answers. But it will offer you something more powerful: clarity, courage, a starting point. Over the next few minutes, we're going to explore why you feel stuck, what that really means, and how Jim Rohn's timeless wisdom can help you move again. Not with pressure, not with perfection, but with purpose, with peace, with intention. So if you're tired of feeling stuck and you're ready to take one step, just one, toward change, then let's begin. Because your direction is about to shift. We live in a world that never stops, a world that rewards speed, noise, and constant visibility. But despite being more connected than ever, most people feel more disconnected than they've ever been. Disconnected from purpose, disconnected from joy, disconnected from who they used to be and who they could become. We scroll endlessly through social media, comparing our behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. We chase goals that aren't even ours. Career paths chosen out of fear, lifestyles modeled after trends, choices driven by other people's expectations. And we wonder why we feel so far from ourselves. You're told to hustle, to work harder, to make it happen. But what if the problem isn't that you're not doing enough? What if the problem is you've been doing the wrong things for too long? We all know how to stay busy, but do we know how to stay aligned? Do we know how to slow down and listen to what we want, to what we need? That's why so many people feel stuck. Not because they're lazy, not because they're broken, but because they've been moving without meaning. They've spent so much energy trying to keep up, they never had time to look within, to ask, where am I headed? Why am I doing this? Jim Rohn said, life does not get better by chance. It gets better by change. But real change, the kind that lasts, doesn't begin in your schedule. It begins in your soul. It begins with the courage to stop chasing someone else's definition of success and start designing your own. Let me ask you, have you ever achieved something you thought would make you feel successful, but didn't? Have you ever ticked every box society handed you, school, job, salary, and still felt empty inside? Have you ever looked around at a life you built and felt like a stranger in it? That's because achievement without alignment leads to discontent, and without direction, even movement becomes meaningless. Jim also said, if you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much. The truth is, most people aren't lazy. They're exhausted. They're not confused. They're overwhelmed. They don't lack ambition. They lack clarity. And clarity is not something you stumble into. It's something you create with awareness, with questions, with intentional choices. You see, clarity is what fuels momentum. But clarity doesn't come from the outside. It's not found in someone else's Instagram feed. It's not found in hustle culture or shallow motivation. It's not a download, it's a discovery. Clarity comes from asking the hard questions. Who am I becoming? Is the life I'm building aligned with what I truly value? Am I pursuing what matters or just what's popular? If no one applauded, would I still want this? But here's the challenge. Asking those questions takes courage, because the answers might ask you to let go, to slow down, to realign, to disappoint people who expect you to keep playing your old role. And in a world addicted to speed, slowing down feels like failure. But it's Nimes. Slowing down is the bravest thing you can do, because in the pause, you reclaim your power. Because that pause, that reflection, it's where redirection begins. It's the soil where clarity takes root. It's the moment where you stop reacting and start designing. Jim Rohn understood this better than most. He wasn't just a teacher of success. He was a student of reflection. He believed that the best life doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing what matters. From becoming someone who is in alignment with their values, not just their goals. He once said, "Don't join an easy crowd. You won't grow. Go where the expectations and the demands to perform are high." That means, don't shrink yourself to fit into a life that was never meant for you. Don't settle for ease over excellence. Don't confuse being accepted with being aligned. If the people around you don't challenge you to grow, they're probably keeping you small. If the life you're living doesn't stretch you to become more, it may be time to reimagine your path. So ask yourself, are you living a life that was handed to you? Or are you creating one that reflects your deepest values? Are you surviving your life or designing it? Because the truth is, you were never meant to stay stuck. You were meant to evolve. You were built to grow. You were wired to renew and reinvent. But growth requires honesty. It requires looking at the discomfort not as a punishment, but as a prompt. Discomfort is often the signal that something inside you is ready to shift. Not just your circumstances, but your beliefs, your identity, your direction. Jim Rohn would say, "Learn to be happy with what you have while you pursue all that you want." Meaning, you don't need to hate your current life to build a better one. You can honor where you are, even as you move forward. You can hold gratitude in one hand and ambition in the other. So today, if you feel stuck, don't see it as failure. See it as feedback. See it as life gently tapping you on the shoulder and asking, "Are you sure this is the road you want to stay on?" And if the answer is no, then the good news is, you can always turn, you can always redesign, you can always begin again. The road to freedom doesn't require a map. It requires a decision, a choice to come back to yourself, to choose alignment over approval, to choose meaning over motion. Let that decision begin here. Let it begin now. In the next section, we'll explore exactly how Jim Rohn approached that decision, through personal philosophy, daily discipline, and consistent action. But for now, just pause, reflect, and remember, you are not behind. You are just on the brink of becoming. So now we arrive at the turning point. You understand why you feel stuck. You know that hustle isn't the answer, and that clarity isn't found in chaos. But what now? What does it look like to actually begin again? To design a life that's aligned, intentional, and deeply yours? Maybe it begins with a pause, a moment of reflection, a deep breath away from the noise, the pressure, the constant push to perform. A moment to ask, what kind of life am I actually building? Because the truth is, most people never pause to ask. They just keep going, keep climbing, keep grinding, until one day they wake up and realize they've climbed the wrong mountain. Jim Rohn spent decades helping people come back to themselves, to slow down, to think deeper, to make new, conscious choices. And while his words were simple, his wisdom was profound. His ideas didn't shimmer with hype, they shined with truth. His approach was not about adding pressure to your already heavy life, but rather about inviting you to lighten the burden through clarity, intention, and inner alignment. He didn't believe in pushing people harder. He believed in helping them see clearer. He didn't promise quick fixes or hacks. He didn't offer shortcuts. Instead, he taught the kind of timeless principles that can quietly reshape the course of a person's life. He believed that the foundation of every transformed life comes down to three things: philosophy, the way you think; discipline, the way you live; action, the way you move forward. These aren't just motivational words. They are living systems, tools, filters for better choices, maps for navigating change. Think of them as the legs of a steady tripod. When one leg is missing, your progress wobbles. When all three are active, you gain balance, direction, and quiet confidence. These three pillars work together to help you build a life you're proud of, not someday, but day by day. Not because it's easy, but because it's right. So let's take our time and truly explore what each one means in real life. One philosophy, the invisible hand that shapes your life. Jim said, "Your personal philosophy is the major determining factor in how your life works out." Let that sink in. Not your resume, not your GPA, not even your bank account, but your philosophy. It's how you interpret setbacks, how you assign meaning to events, how you answer questions like, "Why me?" or "What now?" It's the script that runs behind every decision you make, consciously or unconsciously. It influences how you show up in conversations, how you handle adversity, and even how you treat yourself when no one is watching. And more importantly, your philosophy determines the kind of questions you ask yourself. Do you ask, "How do I survive this?" or "What is this trying to teach me?" Do you ask, "What do people think of me?" or "Am I proud of who I'm becoming?" Do you ask, "How can I avoid failure?" or "What will I learn when I fall and rise again?" Your philosophy either locks you into limitation or unlocks your potential. It becomes a lens, clear or cloudy, wide or narrow, expanding or restricting. And here's the beautiful part. It's not fixed. You can change your philosophy. You can rewrite the code that runs your life. But that process requires intention. It requires awareness. It requires you to step outside the echo chamber of your habits and into the arena of deeper thought. It requires being around people who think differently, people who challenge your comfort zones, environments that stretch your vision and values. It requires being challenged. And yes, it requires discomfort, because real growth rarely feels like comfort. It feels like conflict. Internal, healthy, awakening conflict. That's why Jim emphasized reading, listening, reflecting. He believed that we become what we consume, and that to change our lives, we must first change the ideas we invite into our minds. Jim famously said, "Miss a meal if you have to, but don't miss a book." Because books aren't just information. They are companions, they are challenges, they are mentors. They open doors to rooms in your mind you didn't know existed. They introduce you to parts of yourself you've never met. Philosophy is not about sounding smart. It's about choosing thoughts that serve your vision over those that sabotage it. So ask yourself today, what ideas am I feeding my mind? What philosophies am I unconsciously absorbing from my environment? Do I need a mental upgrade? Am I thinking for myself or just thinking what the world taught me to think? A better life always begins with better thinking, and better thinking always begins with better questions. So start there. Start by choosing to think on purpose. 2. Discipline, the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Discipline. A word that makes some people cringe. We often associate it with pressure, struggle, or punishment, but Jim Rohn saw it as liberation. To him, discipline wasn't about restriction. It was about alignment, about choosing to honor your values, not your mood. Every act of discipline is an act of self-respect. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, you signal to your subconscious, "I can be trusted. I am reliable. I am worthy of success." And that trust, it becomes the bedrock of your confidence. Because confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. Brick by brick, action by action, choice by choice. Jim loved to say, "The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons." So true. It's hard to say no to distractions in the moment, but it's so much harder to look back on a life that never reached its potential. Discipline isn't glamorous, but it's powerful. It's what allows you to follow through even when no one's watching. It's what separates the dreamers from the doers. Here's what discipline looks like in daily life. Choosing to reflect instead of react. Choosing to walk for 10 minutes instead of scroll for 30. Choosing to journal even when you're tired. Choosing to speak with kindness even when you're frustrated. Saying no when it's easier to say yes. Starting even when the voice of doubt says, "Wait until tomorrow." These are small acts, but they are transformational acts. Because discipline isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters, consistently. And more than anything, it's about remembering who you want to become and refusing to abandon that version of you when life gets messy. So ask yourself, what is one thing I can do daily that reflects who I want to become? How can I make it so easy that I can't fail? What can I remove from my life that consistently pulls me out of alignment? Then show up, one day, then another. Track your streak, celebrate progress, not perfection. Let the quiet strength of self-discipline guide your steps. Because in the end, discipline doesn't restrict you, it releases you. It frees you to live with integrity, with clarity, with pride. And that is a freedom worth practicing for. 3. Action. The only cure for fear is movement. Jim Rohn once said, "Don't let your learning lead to knowledge. Let your learning lead to action." That's where most people stop. They read, they nod, they highlight, they consume content all day long, videos, books, podcasts, thinking that one more insight will unlock transformation. But they don't act. They confuse knowing with growing. They wait until they feel more confident. But confidence comes from doing, not before. Action is the great equalizer. It doesn't care where you're from, how much you know, or who believes in you. It doesn't care about how perfect your plan is. It cares whether you move. Because movement generates energy. Energy generates momentum. And momentum can take you further than motivation ever will. You don't need to sprint. You don't need to leap. You just need to step. One page written, one person helped, one decision made, one boundary honored, one uncomfortable truth faced. This is how we build momentum, not in dramatic bursts, but in deliberate motion. Jim Rohn believed in what he called reasonable activity, not about going all out for 3 days, but showing up consistently for 30 or 300, small, doable, repeatable. Progress is not always visible in the moment. It can feel invisible, quiet, uneventful. But trust me, your effort compounds. Every single step you take, especially when no one is watching, builds a foundation you can stand on when the storms of life hit. Action doesn't just create results, it creates identity. You go from being someone who wants to someone who does. You stop identifying with procrastination and start identifying with courage. And when you look back a year from now, you'll realize the person you've become was built one small, brave action at a time. So pause now and ask, what have I been putting off? What would it feel like to finally start? What's one step I can take before the end of today? What action, no matter how small, would tell my future self, I've got your back? Then do it. Don't wait to feel ready, because readiness is a reward, not a requirement. Movement creates momentum, and momentum will carry you when motivation disappears. One action, one shift, one brave decision. That's all it takes to stop being stuck and start becoming unstoppable. Final reflections. Jim Rohn taught that life is not about perfection. It's about direction. And not just any direction, but one chosen with consciousness, not default. It's about choosing each day to step a little more into alignment, to listen more closely to the quiet inner voice that says, this is who you really are. To move not from fear or pressure, but from clarity and conviction. To build a personal philosophy rooted in truth and courage. To protect your mindset the way you'd protect a sacred space, because it is. To challenge the stories you've outgrown and replace them with beliefs that empower rather than restrict. To cultivate disciplines that reflect your values, not out of duty, but out of devotion. Discipline, when chosen with love, becomes a ritual of honoring your potential. To take small, consistent actions that lead you forward, not because they're fast, but because they're faithful. Because they whisper to your future self, I'm showing up for you. If you do this, you won't just succeed. You'll evolve. You'll expand. You'll awaken a strength that was always there, waiting to be trusted. You'll become someone who wakes up proud of the life they're building. Someone who no longer needs to escape their reality, because their reality is no longer a place they're running from, it's a home they're creating. So ask yourself one last time, what belief must I upgrade? What habit must I commit to? What step must I take? Who is the version of me that already lives this truth? Then start today, not because you're behind, but because you're ready. You always have been. And as Jim would say, the major key to your better future is you. Now that you've reflected deeply on Jim Rohn's pillars of change, philosophy, discipline, and action, let's bring it down to earth. Let's talk about what you can actually do today. Not someday, not when life calms down, not when you have more time. Today, right now, this moment. Because the bridge between insight and transformation is built with simple, repeated action. Change doesn't begin with huge events. It begins with tiny shifts. Shifts in how you think, how you speak to yourself, what you say yes and no to, and most importantly, how you show up when no one is clapping yet. Here are 3 practical steps to begin integrating these principles into your daily life, not just in theory, but in rhythm. Step 1. Reset your philosophy with a morning question. Each morning, start with a simple journaling practice. Don't overthink it. Just write 1 paragraph in response to this. What kind of person do I want to be today? You can change the phrasing. What would my best self do today? What belief will I choose to guide me through this day? What would someone who respects themselves choose in my shoes? This trains your mind to think on purpose instead of by default. And remember what Jim said, don't start your day until you have it finished. This means think first, decide first, choose who you will be before the world chooses for you. It doesn't take long, just 2 minutes of mental direction can shift your entire day. Bonus tip, keep a small notebook titled My Philosophy in Progress. Fill it slowly, 1 reflection at a time. Read it back every Sunday. You'll begin to see patterns and power. Step 2. Design a micro-discipline, 7-day commitment. Choose 1 small act that you will do every day for the next 7 days. It should be so simple you can't fail. So small your mind can't argue. Examples. Drink a glass of water first thing in the morning. Read 1 page of a personal growth book. Write 1 sentence in a gratitude journal. Take 3 deep breaths before checking your phone. Set a 5-minute timer to clean a cluttered space. You can even choose things like lay out your clothes before bed. Send 1 encouraging message to someone you admire. Speak your affirmations aloud while brushing your teeth. The goal is not intensity. The goal is identity shift. You are becoming someone who follows through, someone who honors their inner word. Jim Rohn said, "Success is a few simple disciplines, practiced every day." So start small, build consistency, then expand, and celebrate every small win like it matters, because it does. Step 3. End each day with a becoming reflection. Before you sleep, ask, who did I become today? What choices brought me closer to who I want to be? Where did I react, and how can I grow from that tomorrow? Write it in a note, speak it aloud, or just reflect silently. The point isn't perfection, it's awareness. It's about capturing the wisdom of your lived experience while it's still fresh. Add a simple ritual to this. Light a candle. Play a short calming track. Stretch while you reflect. This will help you close each day with clarity, not confusion, with intention, not inertia. You'll begin to feel it, a quiet sense of alignment, that you're not spinning, that you're building something solid inside. 1 step at a time, 1 choice at a time. 1 better evening leads to a better tomorrow. Bonus practice, the Jim Rohn Daily Check-In. Print this, post it, repeat it. 1. Did I direct my thinking today, or did I let the world do it for me? 2. Did I keep 1 promise to myself? 3. Did I take 1 step, even a small one, toward my highest self? You can also add, 4. Did I speak to myself with kindness when I failed? 5. Did I invest even 5 minutes in becoming who I'm meant to be? If the answer is yes, even once, you're on the right path. And if it's no, that's not failure. That's feedback. Start again tomorrow. You are not your slip-ups. You are your pattern of rising. As Jim reminded us, you don't have to change everything overnight. Just change something. Start with your philosophy, follow with your discipline, and back it up with action. Let your life shift from the inside out. Let your growth be quiet, but certain. It doesn't start with the world, it starts with you. And the next step is yours to take. Let's pause. Take a breath. Feel the weight of what you've just walked through. You've reflected deeply on why you feel stuck. You've absorbed the timeless wisdom of Jim Rohn, his teachings on philosophy, discipline, and action. You've outlined small, practical ways to begin today. But now it's time for something even deeper. Not just action, but alignment. Because change isn't just about doing more. It's about doing differently, from a place of truth. It's not about adding more to your schedule. It's about subtracting what no longer serves. So before you rush back into your day, let this part speak to your heart, not just your head. Let it echo inside you. Let it linger. Let it transform. Let's ask some final, soulful questions. What am I no longer willing to tolerate from myself? Where in my life have I gone quiet when I was meant to rise? What truth have I been ignoring because it scares me? Who is waiting for me to become the version of me I keep postponing? And perhaps most powerfully, what would happen if I simply began with what I have, where I am, as I am? Because here's the truth. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need a 5-year map. You don't need permission from anyone but yourself. You don't need to become someone else. You need to return to yourself. What you need is to begin. To trust that one small decision made in truth ripples farther than you can see. To believe that progress is possible, not someday, but this day. To remember that your future is being built one choice at a time, and that today's choice matters. To know in your bones what Jim Rohn believed in his soul. The major value in life is not what you get. The major value in life is what you become. So today, become. Become the person who turns inward, then moves outward. The person who asks deeper questions and doesn't run from the answers. The person who rises, not perfectly, but powerfully. The person who doesn't wait for the world to recognize their worth, but chooses to live it. And when you do, leave a mark, not for applause, but as proof that you were here. Not just breathing, but becoming. Becoming more aware, more intentional, more whole. Becoming the kind of human whose presence is a quiet revolution. One who walks into rooms and brings permission for others to be more too. If this message resonated with you, take a moment. Leave a comment, write a reflection, send it to a friend. Share what it stirred in you. Not because you have to, but because your journey might unlock someone else's. Or simply whisper to yourself, I'm changing my direction, one choice at a time. Because this isn't the end, it's the beginning, and you're exactly where you need to be for that beginning to begin.